Salve, Regina, Mater misericordiae.
St. John is a great witness, and in his gospel, at the end of his gospel here, when he talks about his testimony, of the things that he said that are true, claiming that his testimony is valid and convicting, we remember that St. John stood at the foot of the cross, near the mother of Jesus, at the foot of the cross, in a place where very few were willing to stand. And we also know that he was one of the first to believe in the resurrection. He went to the tomb with Peter and outran Peter to the tomb, and after Peter had seen, he looked inside and saw the empty tomb and the shroud of our Lord and the headcloth folded separately, and he saw, he tells us, he saw and believed. St. John is also a witness to Christmas in his prologue for his gospel. Prologue, which we read as the last gospel at every Mass in the extraordinary form. And that 18 verses of his gospel has been set aside in this particular way because they are very unique. It's the only gospel that's given this kind of theological prologue, which is a proclamation of the truth of the Incarnation, that the Word that dwelt in inaccessible light has become a man, become man for our sake, has become flesh, and has taken that flesh from the Virgin, not through the will of man or through blood, but through the power of God. It's a stupendous miracle. And all that follows in St. John's Gospel is based on that fundamental conviction that the one that was seen, and as he says in his letter, the one that they looked upon and touched, was the Word of life. That the truth, that the healing and saving truth of God was made visible and continues to dwell with us. And so we have this very beautiful and rather unique way of celebrating Christmas, that during the octave we should continue to celebrate Christmas as though each day were Christmas, which it is. We speak about the most holy day of Christmas in the Roman canon, and we speak about it every day being that day during the octave. And yet at the same time we celebrate these various feast days of the saints. St. Stephen, which was suppressed because yesterday was Sunday and the feast of the Holy Family. Today St. John, tomorrow the Holy Innocents. And the Fathers tell us that the feast of St. Stephen, of course, is that of a martyr. Today is that of a virgin, and tomorrow will be that of virgin martyrs. St. Stephen, a proto-martyr. St. John, the beloved disciple, and the Holy Innocents, in a sense, that holding that very special place of being witnesses for Christ, even while our Lord was an infant, and even while they were infants. And so we acknowledge the testimony given by these great witnesses who stand not only in this case with St. John at the foot of the cross, but in a certain sense at the manger and point to the child and remind us of the great truth of our faith. We celebrate Christmas in the extraordinary way in which we do, setting it aside and reveling and decorating and doing all these things because it's a truth that we can't afford to get over, to get used to, or to take for granted. And it should always be a cause of joy for each of us, because in the end, our St. John's place is to remind us that we are all, in a sense, our Lord's beloved disciple, that he's come for each one of us and has offered himself for our salvation. May we be grateful each day and profess our faith in the truth of our salvation and the presence of Jesus as we celebrate this Holy Mass, and here proclaim for us the words of St. John in the last Gospel.